Welcome to another episode of Worthy of Rescue. In the book Worthy of Rescue, Pursued by God, our third section covered rescue. It vividly depicts individuals who were rescued by Christ. They underwent a transformative journey of overcoming their sin and embracing the righteousness of Christ. Today, I want to speak about the presence of God. What does it look like to understand the presence of God in your midst? The life of King David is a good place to look when desiring to read about someone with a heart of repentance, as well as communion with the Lord. When looking at the Psalms in the Bible, some were penned by David, or when reading about David's life in the books of Samuel or Chronicles, we see his boldness in going before the Lord with a repentant heart. David is spoken about as being a man after God's own heart in the scriptures. And we can understand that David had knowledge of God's perfect love for him even when he sinned, knowing that a truly repentant heart God would not despise. On this note, where do you think David went when he was pursued by his enemies, when he had sinned before the Lord, or when he sinned against his fellow man? In Psalm 57 verse 1, David penned, "For my soul takes refuge in you. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge until destruction passes by." Okay, let's look at Psalm 36 verse 7. "How precious is your loving kindness, O God, and the children of men take refuge in the shadow of your wings." These verses talk about David being in the tent or the tabernacle where the Ark of the Covenant was housed. David was not from the priestly line of Aaron, so he could not touch the Ark of the Covenant, but it did not stop him from worshiping, dancing, pleading his case before the Lord. Jewish rabbis and a few Christian pastors teach us that when the sun shone through the curtains over the Ark of the Covenant, there would be shadows on the floor from the outline of the Ark and the wings of the cherubim. It is in this place where David would go to be as close to the presence of the Lord that he could, to worship, seeking forgiveness, to find restoration of his soul. I can vividly picture David laying on the floor, hands spread out, face on the floor of this holy place, crying out to his God, the maker of heaven and earth, the creator of the universe, the one who knit him in his mother's womb, the one that commanded him to be anointed and be king over Israel. I can also picture him singing and creating psalms in the presence of his God. In Psalm 61 verse 4, it says, "Let me dwell in your tent forever. Let me take refuge in the shelter of your wings." This is where I want to be. This is where I want to live, in the quiet presence of the Lord. Do you have this full assurance in God's love for you and who you are today with all your flaws? Or do you believe that He is sitting in heaven just waiting to condemn you for your mistakes and throw you away? Can you dare to believe, even with an infinitely small amount of faith, that God, who created the heavens and the earth, would forgive you? That He desires you to have a relationship with Him here on the earth and then for eternity upon eternity. You may be thinking, yes, I want this assurance. But asking, how do I walk this out? If you haven't already come broken before the Lord, fully repentant of your life, being your own king, being your own Lord, being your own God, lay it before the Lord. Let the blood of Christ, who died for us and the power that God used and raised him from the dead, let that power be in you and seen in you and through you as you come fully before the throne and exchange your righteousness for Christ's robes of righteousness and become a child of the King. And if you are his daughter or his son and you're in a dry and weary place, remember, sit in the quietness of his presence. Read a psalm. Let him wash you with his presence, with the word that you read. Let him touch the brokenness inside of you and bring healing and wholeness to you so that your identity is firm as a child of the God Most High. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, you are pursued by God and you are worthy of his rescue.